So I will be recording the lectures. All that shows up on the lecture is actually what's on the screen, but then my voice will be on there as well. That way if you miss a day, then you can listen to the lecture and catch up. That's pretty important for a couple of reasons. One is just grade-wise. Maybe not every day, but a lot of the days that you're here, we will do an in-class tutorial where I'm typing something here or I hand something out. Usually I'll be typing it up here. And you'll need to type along with it, and then we get it all working together, and then you upload it into the daily Dropbox. And so if you miss the day, you miss the grade, unless you go back and you watch the video. So you'll want to watch the videos whenever you miss. If I goof up and I forget to record the session, then you're not going to be on the hook for that daily assignment, or I will write a written description of what you need to type in. So, welcome to C++. I'm Professor Thompson. You can call me Professor Thompson. You can call me Jeff, whatever you want to call me. I don't care. Just don't be rude and call me bad names. Please feel free to contact me anytime. I list my phone number here. That's my personal phone number. That's not an office phone number. So you can get a hold of me day or night. I'm smart enough to put my phone on silent if I want to get some sleep, so don't feel inhibited about calling me late at night, leaving voicemail or whatever. Text is actually preferred. One cool thing about text in a class like this is that if you're stuck, you just text me, say, I can't get this to work. I'll say, send me a picture of your code. You go, click, Then I look at it, I see the error message that you're getting, and usually I can turn around, as long as I'm not in class or asleep or something at that time, and very quickly tell you what you need to do to get it going. So text is really useful. A lot faster than sending me your code in email, hoping that I'm checking email at that instant, waiting for me to write an email back to you. It's way faster. So to encourage you to text me, if y'all would be so kind, grab your phone, send me a note that says C++ followed by your name. There's my phone number. Why do we do that? Well, this is Oklahoma, and you never know whether it's going to be 70 degrees or have another ice storm. Well, we really didn't have one. The great ice storm of 2017 has not yet materialized, but 2017 is not over yet. So if I know that class has been canceled, I'll blast out a message to all of y'all saying don't bother to come in. If you can't come in for some reason, you can text me and let me know why. That's kind of polite. And if you have any questions, that's where it becomes really useful. Once the semester's over, I delete all the phone numbers. So, and the only thing I will contact you about is school-related activities. Good deal. I hear some messages coming in. Thank you very much. Cool deal. Thank you all very much. Alrighty. If I zoom in enough to read the text, then it cuts it off. But you can read this on our front page. Let me just see if I can edit it and view it that way. There we go. Okay. So you know where to meet. Here, Monday and Wednesdays. The fact that you're sitting here is a good sign. I think that you know where to meet. The textbooks. There's only one text. Sorry, I did not mean to make it plural. You can get it from the bookstore. You can order it online. You can get it as a Kindle book or some other kind of online book. That's actually what I do. I don't buy my textbooks anymore. I get them on Kindle. I like Kindle because I can do searches. If I don't remember how to allocate an array or whatever, I can just open that book and I can do a search for array, and it takes me right there. It's way faster than flipping through the index or looking at the glossary in the back of the book or whatever. So just grab the book, whatever form you're going to get. Just a word of warning, if you do one of those things where it says rent textbook, you better get it back to them or else you're going to pay more than what you would have just to buy it outright. So you're going to need, or I should say, I highly recommend that you install a C++ development environment on your home machine or your laptop. If you don't have a home machine or a laptop, then obviously you can't. But otherwise, please do. The reason why is that's how you're going to do your homework. And if you can't do it at home, then you're going to have to come march up to here, use a computer lab down the hallway. And so it's a lot better off for you if you can do this stuff at home. If you're using Windows, you'll want to install Microsoft Visual Studio. And there's a way that you can download that. If you're not using Windows, if you're a Mac user, it's fine. Just use Xcode instead. If you're a Linux user, I don't know what to recommend. But if you're a Linux user, then you're pumped up enough that you can go and find it and install it. And I'll help you if I have to. So you just need a C++ development environment. It doesn't really matter which one. We're not going to be doing Windows specific stuff, so it doesn't have to be on a Windows machine. It's just that's what we use here. So if you want to use the same one that we're using here, you're going to want to grab Visual Studio. The version of Visual Studio is not all that important. So if you've already got an old version on your machine, you don't have to go and update it. It's not like C++ has changed dramatically in the past few years. So please read the syllabus. We'll get back to that. Everything we do is going to be done pretty much under the Course Tools menu. Up here, Course Tools, you'll see Content. That's where all the PDFs and the PowerPoints and stuff like that will be loaded. Dropbox, that's where the assignments are located. When you feel like checking your grades, you can go to Grades. I don't know what chat's for. I never use that. I never encourage the use of discussions. And then if we have quizzes, which we will probably have chapter-based quizzes, then they'll be there in that quizzes option along with the exams themselves. So we'll have 3 exams, 2 midterms, and a final. They will be all posted there. So got to be able to get onto D2L. You have to be able to navigate the course tools. Like I said, I expect all of y'all are probably not first-time students, and you probably already know how to do the vast majority of this stuff. But in case you don't, I put a screenshot of where the course tools menu is and how to get to content, and that's where you'd find the syllabus. There's also, if you're viewing the main page, this quick links menu off to the side. This quick links menu is just a copy of everything that's in the content section. So you want to get to the syllabus, you can do the quick links, or you can go to the content section. Programming language. What are we going to use? We're going to use C++. The C programming language was invented in around 1970. And it was not an object-oriented language. There were some other object-oriented languages, and that doesn't mean anything to you most likely, that were being developed during the 70s. And then somebody, Jorn Strustrup, I do not know how to pronounce his name correctly, made an improved version of C called C++ that came out in the late 80s. And it has been the standard development language ever since. Sure, other languages have come up since then. Java, C#, Python, all sorts of languages. But the vast majority of those have borrowed from the C++ syntax. If you're a Java programmer and you're sitting down to C++, you're going to think that it's almost the same language. Same thing for C#. Yeah, they do operate differently, but the syntax of them is very similar. So by learning C++, you're getting, you're on the ground floor that a whole bunch of stuff is built on. And a lot of game software is written in C++. A lot of, you can bet that Excel and, Chrome and all those desktop applications were written in C++ and your PlayStation and Xbox software and stuff like that. It's a really good thing to learn. And the concepts will carry over to any other programming language that you choose to learn. All right. Assignments and due dates. All assignments and due dates will be posted in the Dropbox. So you never need to ask when something is due. You can just check the Dropbox. There's a possibility I've goofed and I didn't put a due date on it, in which case, yeah, feel free to yell at me about it. Okay, what's next on our news page? Office hours. As you can see, I work here 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday and Thursday. I have more office hours on Monday and Wednesday than I do on Tuesday and Thursday. However, if you need to meet on an evening because you cannot come in during the day, let me know and I can come in on a Tuesday or a Thursday evening. However, I usually don't have people request that once they've tried out texting and as a form of support. So hopefully this will be enough. If not, let me know, make an appointment, and we can come in. I wish that I didn't have a bunch of classes leading up to this one, so that I could say, just come in 20 minutes early and we'll talk about it. Can't do that, but we could hang out for a few minutes afterwards. So if you're stuck on something, then yeah, we could hang out for a few minutes afterwards. And by the way, if you have a laptop, feel free to bring it in and do your work on your laptop rather than using the school computers. Why? Because then you'll be using the same environment that you'll be using at home. I have lots of people do that, especially the Mac users. Free software. Free stuff is always good. Want to get Visual Studio? You're going to go to this DreamSpark link. It's listed down here. You're going to click it. You're going to follow it. Oh, have they renamed it? It's now Microsoft Imagine. What do you know? Alrighty. Sign in. You're going to do, I believe, enter your username here. And what will happen once you've done that, I'm going to enter an incorrect email address just so that I can do this, is, you know what, I have forgotten. I am so sorry. You either do forget password or you create a new account, you say what school it is, and then a message will be sent to Arlene Hayes to authorize you to download the software from here. So I'll get the exact details of it by Monday, but feel free to experiment before then if you have not used DreamSpark already. They've renamed it, but it's still, yeah, they totally renamed it. Okay, guess we won't call it DreamSpark anymore. Also, other software that might be of interest, VMware virtual machines. So if you want to run different versions of Windows on the same machine, you can do that with that. It's available for download. If you want Microsoft Office for free, then hopefully this link still works. The school doesn't offer this, but Microsoft itself does. So you can just follow that link to download Office. I think it's got both Mac and PC versions available for download there. I think that's where I got my Mac version, which is kind of nice. You don't have to pay the yearly fee that they charge for, you know, the Windows Online, the Office Online. If you feel like getting Python and Java, you can also do that as well at the links there. Alrighty, that's about enough of that, but let's go look at the syllabus. Some of that's going to be a rehash. I went to Contents, two important subfolders here. One's called School Information. You're probably never going to use this stuff, but if you want to, you can. You know, the student handbook is here, the course schedule where you can look up, you know, when English 2 is, and what building or whatever it is. Important spring dates. What's the most important spring date? Woohoo! Spring break. That's important. Okay, anyways. So, you know, the final exams or whatever. Our important dates are in the syllabus, but those are campus-wide dates. And our final exam date is posted, but if you were just curious how the final exams were divvied out, it's odd. I don't know if following that link worked for you, but it's not working for me. Huh. Alright, forget that. I'll re-upload it. More importantly, our class information. My office hours. We've already done that one. It's posted twice because eventually that news will get pushed down to the bottom. Make it easy to find. And the syllabus. Whenever you're viewing something in D12, if it can, it's going to pop open this little preview window. That's pretty cool for Word docs and PDFs. It's not perfect, but if it's a 40-page PowerPoint, you know, like for the chapter or 100 pages or whatever, then it's almost impossible to do. So whenever you pop up something and using a preview isn't doing it for you, just click download and download the document and then open it. So that's what I'm going to do for the PDF. So this is an introductory course in developing both procedural and object-oriented logic. Bunch of words. We'll learn what those mean. For problem solving using the C++ programming language, using several development tools and techniques. We will present the core concepts of writing programs. If you have taken another programming course, like CIT1173, or or the Java class, then some of this stuff's going to be reviewed for you. That's okay. Hopefully you won't get too bored. Where was I going with that? But I'm not going to kick you out for not having had one of the prereqs. I'm going to assume that we're starting at the bottom. So if you're a software engineer for Tinker and you've been writing AWACS software for 12 years, you're going to get kind of bored, and I'm sorry about that. If you're a professional developer, you might want to talk to me about just testing out of the class. Otherwise, I hope everybody stays in the class. I think you'll have a good time. My name, my office, I'm right downstairs in room 102. I list my phone number again and my email address. Delivery method, hybrid, lecture and online. That means that I do come here and lecture and we do work together, but then the lectures are also posted online for your use, and all of our material, you know, our PowerPoints and PDFs and assignments and the stuff that you upload is done online. The textbook, I already mentioned. Our website, already mentioned. Course objectives. I want you to be able to understand fundamental concepts, general principles of programming. I need to put this away. One horrible moment in my teaching career, I actually wrote on that. Boy, was I embarrassed. Okay. You're going to be able to write, compile, debug, and run C++ programs. You're going to write programs utilizing logic constructs, selection, and repetition, utilizing language features such as arrays and abstract data types. Some of these are going to sound like mumbo jumbo. They may all sound like mumbo jumbo at this point, and that's okay. That's why you're here. If you already knew it, why would you be here? Grading scale is pretty typical. 90%'s an A, 80%'s a B, 70%'s a C. If you're on the cusp, if you're making an 89 or an 89.5, I'm probably going to bump you up. The grades are broken down as follows. 40% of your grade is based on what you write as your homework. And then what we do in class is worth 20% of your grade in chapter quizzes. I think I'm going to put the quizzes in with the homework because that's putting too much into that 20%. And then we'll have 3 exams. We'll have 2 midterms and a final. We may make the second midterm a take-home exam if y'all are psyched up about doing that. Why? Because it gives you more time to work on it. You can work on it over a weekend or whatever. Consider it. Our due dates, important dates to remember. The first midterm will be around the beginning of March. Second midterm will be around the beginning of April. The final exam will be May 10. Last day to withdraw. Fortunately, nobody's going to withdraw. I'm sure y'all are all going to do great. And I'm actually pretty serious when I say that. It's not a platitude. I don't mind turning in a grade sheet that where 80 or 90% of y'all have made A's and B's. I'm totally psyched about doing that. You do have to earn it, of course, but it's not a cut course. You know, it's not designed to, weed people out at all. I will go to a lot of effort to make sure you understand the material if you come and ask for additional help. So the grading policy. Once you've turned something in, you're going to want to get credit for it. The programming assignments must be able to run in order to get any credit. And you'll see what I mean in a minute, but when you're writing a program, it goes through a step called compiling. And it has to compile before it can run. If it won't even compile, I can't test it. I can't look at it at all. So you're not going to get any credit for it. In your feedback, in your Dropbox, I'll say I couldn't get the program to compile. Please revise it. So you'll get a 0 on it if it doesn't compile, but you can then fix it and upload it again. That's pretty much true of any time you don't get good credit on a program. What if it compiles fine, but it doesn't behave correctly? What if it's supposed to be a payroll program, but it doesn't calculate overtime like it's supposed to? Well, you're going to get like a 70 on it. You made a good stab at it. It covers a lot of the material that was asked for in the requirements, but it doesn't do it all. So you get a 70 or whatever, and then I say, go ahead and revise it for an A. So then you modify the program and you upload it again, a second submission, even after the due date, because I probably am not going to get it graded before the due date, So, even after the due date, just revise it and send it to me again. Upload it a second time, you'll get a higher grade, as long as you've made the changes that were asked for. Sometimes you'll have a 2-part assignment. Part A, do this. Part B, do this. And then people only upload Part A. Well, you only get 50% credit on it. But then, if you come and upload Part B later, you'll get more credit. So it's not your final answer if you don't make a good grade on the assignment. Go ahead. Because in the real world, if you make, if your users find a bug in your program, you're supposed to fix the bug. It's an iterative process. Software development never really ends, until that program is retired and the next, version of it is started or whatever. You write code, well, you write specs, then somebody does. You do some development, it goes into testing, then you give it to the user who finds problems, and it gets developed and tested, over and over and over. So, same thing here. You don't get full credit for something, you don't get good credit for something, just revise it, and I will tell you in my feedback what was wrong with it. Programming assignments are generally due 1 week from the day they are assigned. So like if we talked about how to do, some user input, and then I want you to do that at home, then I would say, okay, please get it done by Tuesday, midnight of Tuesday. That's roughly 7 days. If you get the assignment completed on time, you get a 5% bonus on it. Instead of making 100%, if it's a perfectly working program and you turned it in on time, you get 105. So that's kind of cool. You can kind of build up a backlog there. You turn in 10 assignments, you're 50% ahead. Maybe you can blow off the last assignment entirely and not take a serious hit to your grade or whatever. So it's useful in that factor to turn your stuff in on time. On the flip side, if it's late, you're not going to get full credit for it. I deduct 10% per week, so if it's 1 week late, it's 10% off. If it's 2 weeks late, it's 20% off. After a month, you don't get any credit for it. That said, if there's a reason and you discuss with me the reason why it's late, hey, I'm pregnant, I'm going to be giving birth, I'm not going to be doing homework for the next week. Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. Or I'm going on TDY, or whatever the reason is. I need to go to Wisconsin, for family reasons for 2 weeks. Whatever, just talk to me about it beforehand. If you don't turn stuff in and you haven't talked to me about it, then I'm assuming you don't care, and I'm less, let me know, and then I will work with you on it. I may waive late penalties, or only take 10% off where otherwise I would have taken off more, something like that. The in-class assignments, I need to revise this because this says 2 weeks and then 4 weeks here. The in-class assignments need to be done within 4 weeks. If you miss a day, watch the video, get it done quickly. Don't wait 4 weeks. But if you do wait more than 4 weeks to do the in-class tutorials, then you're not going to get full credit for it. So in-class follows a different grading system than the homework. Because in class you're just expected to come in and type along with what I'm typing and get it to work and upload it, get full credit for it. Really not much grading involved. If you miss it, you're supposed to watch the video, type it in at home and upload it. If you missed it, then I know that there's some reason why. So, you have some latitude in how long you can take to get it up. But get it done quickly because the homework is based on the in-class assignments. And if you've missed 2 in-class assignments in a row and then I assign homework that was based on those 2 assignments, you're not going to know how to do the homework either. So I shouldn't let you have 4 weeks for free, but I do. Once you see how the grades are broken out like this, you might figure out that, oh, maybe I could pass if I did this and only wrote 1 or 2 programs. Not really, but you have to do at least half of your programs. If I have 10 homework assignments for this semester, not the in-class, but the homework, then you need to at least get 5 of them done, well done, in order to pass, no matter what your score is. That's not going to be hard because y'all are going to all do, a majority of the programs. And you're going to ask me for help, right? Yep. Okay. Attendance. I don't count off for attendance, but students with poor attendance generally find themselves getting left behind. You have the videos to help catch up on, So, but almost invariably, the students who struggle the most are the ones with poor attendance. It's just a fact of life. You have to have a lot of discipline if you're going to try to skip a lot of classes and do the lectures and do the in-class assignments at homework. And a lot of people who wind up skipping classes don't have that discipline. Please turn your phone silent. Please don't play games during class. It's just distracting for the people around you. That's really the only reason. Don't put other than the fact that you're paying money to be here. Don't put stuff up on your screen that will distract people, Any behavior that is disruptive to fellow students, I'll have to get on your case about it, and I hate getting on people's cases. For example, one time, about 5-6 years back, I had people with their portable PlayStations on the back row playing Street Fighter 2, or I think that's what it was. I went, really, guys? I had to tell them to stop. Then not too long ago, people were playing Super Smash Brothers, or you know, whatever the cool DS game is. You know, again, I had to get on their case because it was distracting. Why they thought that that was more important than participating in a class, I'm not really sure. So just, if you have to take a phone call, that's totally cool. We're all grown-ups. Just go and step out in the hallway and take it. You know, if you get a text saying that, hey, call me, you know, from your spouse, just go ahead and handle it. No vapes. Believe it or not, when e-cigarettes were first introduced, some people thought that they could actually smoke in class just because it was electronic. Nah, not really. It's your responsibility to check D2L regularly to see the due dates. So if you miss a class, all you have to do is go to D2L and you will see what we did that day and what's upcoming. So if you see a Dropbox and it has a specific day on it, you know that you need to watch the video for that day to get that in-class assignment done. Instructor expectations. I should be giving you clear instructions for assignments. I should answer questions regarding assignments, whether you pose them in email, phone, or text. I will always give you a week's notice of due assignments. I'm not going to talk to you on Wednesday and then tell you to get something done by Sunday. I don't think that's cool. You should always have 2 weeks notice of exams. The dates of the exams are posted in the syllabus. If they change, then we will discuss them clearly and post them in the news section. All due dates are clearly shown in D2L. You really don't have to wonder about when something's due. I will get everything graded within a week of submission. If there are errors, you can revise and correct your program to earn missing credit. I try to answer email within 24 hours. If it's a text message, it gets answered much more quickly than that. You know, and if I get the email while I'm at my office hours, then you'll get a really quick response. But if I'm not, you know, then it'll be delayed because I'm not sitting there watching email on my phone constantly. Academic integrity. I hate having to talk about this, but believe it or not, some people do some of the things that I am going to mention. If you're taking an exam, and the exam is online, and it's multiple choice, or writing a short amount of code, or like, is it a cool idea to open up Gmail and to start trading answers with the people next to you? No, it's not cool. Don't do that. I've had people do that. You know, they think that they can get away with it because they're not using their phone, but, you know, I'm not going to walk around and check to make sure that you aren't cheating. Everybody be grown-ups. That's really all that matters. So, that's cheating on exams. The other thing that you could do is you could work on your homework together. Or you could say, hey, could you show me how you did this so I can do it too? It sounds plausible, right? 80% of the time, if somebody asks you to look at your program so that they can do it too, they're going to turn your assignment in. And believe it or not, I've had people turn in people's assignments with the other person's name and the file name. Hey Alice, why did you upload something that said TanyaRobertson.zip? Did you maybe get that from Tanya? Yeah. Oh no. Anyways, so, or I just look at the code and the code is identical, and I have to come and talk to you all about it. So the in-class assignments, it's totally cool for y'all to work together on that stuff. Because I'm typing stuff up here, but you're going to run into typos. You know, it's not all that easy to see that tiny print up there. And if you get something wrong, like you put a period where there was supposed to be a comma, it's not going to compile and work. And I will be walking around helping y'all. But if you get yours done and you're stuck because you typed in a comma rather than a semicolon, y'all can help each other. And that way, the wandering around helping y'all process takes a lot less time and we cover more material. Otherwise, people get bored during that when, I'm helping some people and other people already have it done. So please help each other if you want to. If you don't want to help, that's totally okay. But what happens then is two people sitting next to each other become programming buddies, and they think they're going to do their homework together. I'm your programming buddy when it comes to homework. If you get stuck on something, contact me. Just do the work yourself. Do the work yourself with my help. If you have a spouse who's a programmer and you're asking them for help, consider asking me for help. You need to be writing this stuff with my help. because they're not the ones, they're not going to be there when you're on the job. So cheating means that you could be copying another student's answers, you could be exchanging information. By the way, the exams are open book, open notes, open Google. So you ought to do pretty well on the exams. Typically, 80% of the class makes A's or B's on the exams. And I'm totally okay with that. I'm not going to try to make the exams hard just to bring that average down. Why do I let y'all use your books and your notes on exams, use the PowerPoints? Because on the job, your boss isn't going to walk up and say, yo, how do you allocate an array and then initialize all the values to 0? Well, I don't know. No. He said, nope, you can't look it up. You just have to tell me. So, no. In real life, you're just asked to do a job and you have your documentation there with you. Same thing on the exams. If you're totally lost, if you haven't been paying attention, you haven't been doing your homework, then even having the notes and the books and the PowerPoints isn't going to really save you. So that's why it's okay with me if you use your books. Use your book, use your PowerPoints, whatever on the exams. Consequences of academic dishonesty. None of y'all are going to do it, right? So we don't need to talk about this much. But if you did, if I determined that 2 people colluded on the same assignment, then you would both earn 0s on it. If Alicia turned in Tanya's homework, then Tanya would also get the 0, and she would be very ticked at Alicia for turning in the same assignment. So the first time that happens, you get a 0. The second time, it gets escalated to the division dean and the director of student conduct. So the first time, we keep it amongst us, most likely, unless it's incredibly egregious. Usually, once caught, people straighten up. I've only had like one time where I've told people to stop doing it and they kept doing it. Student support services. If you have a learning disability, if you have dyslexia or something that makes it more difficult for you to read, or you have something that makes it more difficult for you to control the keyboard or whatever. I've had people who could only mouse and type with one hand, and so they had to go more slowly. And that made my style of teaching a little more interesting because I expect that y'all are going to be able to type, although I know that some people type fast and some people type slow. But I will accommodate you. Accommodations have included letting you take the exam at a different time so that you could take 2 hours rather than an hour and a half or whatever for some people. I even sat with them during the exam at a separate time and read them the questions so that they could answer. Kind of weird that they could be really good programmers but have difficulty understanding written material. But hey, if you need the help, go talk to the Office of Disabilities. They'll send me a form with whatever you need and I will work with you on it. My email address seems to be here. You all know, I think, that you have an email account, first name - last name @raider.rose.edu. If you have trouble with it, then here's a phone number for them. To log on to D2L, if you have trouble with it, you can get on this website and ask them to call you back. Same for campus computers. Whoops, what happened there? All right, I think that's about enough. Enough lecture. Let's actually do something. So the software we're going to be using, unless you brought your own computer and have a different C++ tool installed on it, is called Visual Studio. There might be an icon for it on the desktop or whatever, but just go to the Windows Start and type Visual, and it'll be the top one. In class, it looks like we're using Visual Studio 2013. When you go to DreamSpark to download Visual Studio, you can get a newer one. It's going to be totally fine. Everything's going to be just about the same. They add stuff to it, but they don't take, but it's going to look very similar. So click on that, and it will bring up Visual Studio. And it can take a while. This is not the only way to do C++ development. Back in the old days, before IDEs, which stands for Integrated Development Environment, you did everything from the command prompt, meaning that you popped up a window. If you wanted to type something, you would type CC for compile or GCC to compile. and then you'd give a file name, and then you'd run another program that would link your files together. Using a IDE like Visual Studio or Xcode on the Mac or Eclipse, you know, on Linux or whatever, sure does make development a lot easier. So I'm going to close that. All right, here we go. Do File, New Project. Now it's going to list a whole bunch of options. We don't want Visual Basic. Mine defaulted to open Visual Basic. Just close that. Find Visual C++. And ooh, there's still a bunch of options here. We just want console application. So click on Visual C++ and choose console application. And down here it's going to want a name. And there's a browse button, so you could save it to a different directory other than where it's currently being saved to. I think I'm going to hit browse, and to make my source code directory something off the desktop. So I'm going to go to desktop, new folder, type C++ projects. If you don't do this, this is fine, but when it becomes time to upload your code, you're going to need to be able to find it. And by the way, I strongly encourage you to bring a flash drive and to copy your work to the flash drive each time, because you never know when one of these machines is going to be reformatted. Just, you know, one machine per classroom per semester usually dies, and you don't want it to be yours. So if you come in and all your work for the semester is gone, then you would be sad if you had not backed everything up to flash. All right, so once a name, I'm just going to call this one Hello World. That's going to be the name of the project. So, to reiterate, Visual C++, Win console application, name, Hello World. It'd be even cooler if my name or initials were on the project name. So I'm going to type in JGT as my initials. And then I'm going to click OK. It's going to churn for a while. Since this is the first time Visual Studio has been run, since these machines were reformatted, it's asking some questions. I guess I'm going to click Next just because I'm curious about what object settings there are. And I've done something I wish I hadn't done. I will live with it. No, I won't. I'm going to cancel the whole process. Just cancel out of everything and forget that I said choose command line application. Start the whole thing over again, and I apologize for that. New project. Don't choose Win32 console. Instead, choose empty. Just choose empty project. And I'm going to give it a slightly different name than I had, just in case it did already create the folder. So I'm calling mine Hello World, followed by my initials, but this time I didn't put any spaces. Then I'm going to click OK, and now it's not asking me any additional questions. If you do what I had just about done, which is create a command line application, Microsoft tries to steer you towards using Microsoft-specific extensions to the language. Microsoft would be really happy if you wrote programs that couldn't run on any other operating system. So what I'm going to teach you is our form of C++ that you can compile and run on any other version, any other operating system. That's why we created it as an empty file. Now once you do that, you see some folders over here in something called the Solution Explorer. If you don't see the Solution Explorer because it goes bye-bye because you accidentally close it, something like that, you can get it back by going to Window, nope, it's not there, View, Solution Explorer, and then it comes back. Now we need to create a source code file. Source code file is when we put our program code into. So you're going to right-click on that source file directory and choose Add New Item. Are we all good so far? Are we all pretty much together? Okay, so Add New Item. It's going to give us a default name of just source.cpp. It's better if, now I'm going to just say leave it at that. That's okay. you want to choose CPP file rather than header file. At first, we're going to be concentrating all on C++ files with no header files. Then after a while, we'll start using header files too. So I'm just accepting the default. I chose C++. I'm going to click Add. It comes up with this absolutely empty window, and then we see that that's that file there, and we see the file name there, and that matches that one. If we had done this in a Java development environment, it would have filled in some boilerplate here for us to type in. But we're going to type in our own boilerplate. And I'm going to make absolutely sure that I get it correct. Uno momento. Alright, so the very first line, and I think I'm going to be able to zoom in by hitting Control and the mouse wheel. That works in a lot of Microsoft apps. Here we go. # include, and you have to not do any uppercase letters. These programming languages are very specific, and so if I type in a lowercase letter and you type in an uppercase letter or vice versa, it's actually not going to work, except in certain circumstances. Like, well, you'll see. And then you type in a angle bracket and like a greater than sign, a shift comma, and you type in IO, which stands for input output, stream, like a river, and then a close, a greater than sign, shift period. Then we're going to add another line that says include, # include, hashtag include. I'm calling it #. Modern folks call them hashtags. String within the angle braces. On the third line, and notice I put a blank line there, it doesn't matter. I could put this like 20 lines down here and it would work just as well. Now that's stupid, of course, but in a lot of places you can leave out the white space. If I didn't want a space there or a space there, I could take those spaces out. If I wanted 20 spaces between those two things, I could do that. I'm going to type in using namespace, all one word, although it sounds like two, namespace, STD, which stands for standard. Not any unfortunate. Yeah, okay. So that's our program so far, but it doesn't do anything. What we need to do is add what's known as a main function. The main function is what the operating system invokes to try to start your program. Without a main function, your program won't run. It just doesn't have a hook. It's the hook that gets the whole thing going. So here's our main function, void main. I changed my mind. Make it int main, int space main. Int stands for integer. You don't know what these words mean yet, but you're going to learn. We're just writing something to get a feel so that we have accomplished something by the end of the day, so that you will have your first glimpse, perhaps, of what what these programs look like. Okay, what I did here that I didn't say is I typed int main like this, parentheses in parentheses. I'll put a space there, you don't have to do that. And then I use curly braces. The curly brace is the thing next to the P key. You have to hit shift to get it. Once you type an open curly brace, it goes ahead and it adds the closing curly brace. They always have to match. You always have to have the same number of each. And so I'm just going to hit return. Okay, now I'm going to type the word string space name. This is creating a variable. A variable holds a piece of data. And then do name is equal to and just put a name in. Your name, my name, Mom's name, Tony Stark. There we go. Now what good is a name if we don't actually do something with it? So let's display on the screen the words hello followed by that name. To display something on the screen, we're going to use a command called cout, which stands for console output, console being the window that all this is displayed in. And then less than, which from now on I may call arrow, whatever. You know, 2 less than signs, and then I'm going to put in the words inside double quotes, and these all need to be double quotes, not single quotes. Some languages don't care, C++ does. Hello, and then a closing quote followed by name, and then 2 more arrows, two more less than signs, followed by the letters ENDL, which stands for end line. Not END1, but ENDL. Now this is looking good, but there's one more thing we're going to add if you're doing this under Visual Studio. If you're doing it under Xcode or another development environment, you're not going to add this next line. And I'll show you why we're going to do it. If I run this right now, then after it compiles it, whoops, it popped open a window and it closed it too fast for me to read what was going on. There is a setting we could go that would change that, but the cheap and easy hack is just to make it pause. And so we're going to type the word system, and then inside some parentheses, we're going to put the word pause inside quotes, like that. So that's my whole program. I'm going to shrink the font down one size just so I can get the entire thing on one screen. That's pretty close. Notice that a lot of lines end in semicolons, but you can't say that every line ends in semicolon. Notice that I broke this line up here to here. The only reason I did that is because I was getting too much on one line. Your font is nice and small. You didn't have to put a break there. It's totally okay if you typed all of this in one line. Now I'm sure you followed my example, but I'm telling you the only reason that I broke it into 2 lines like that is because I didn't want to have to scroll left and right or else you can't see it. Yeah, maybe I could have stretched this window out. There we go. Yes, sir?
How do the 2 spaces around pause permanent, or is that just...
That's to make things look pretty.
Okay, I was just
Right.
making sure.
Right. You can leave out almost every space. Whenever you have 2 words in a row, you can't take the space out. But if it's a word and followed by a symbol, you could take all the spaces out. Like that. If you wanted to, you could even put all this on one line. Now don't do that. Okay. I'm going to undo that. The way I undid it is I hit Control-Z a couple of times. There's also undo up here in the edit menu, just like in Word. I'm going to undo a couple more because I like my spaces. There we go. But you don't have to put them in. I would like for you to try to keep your code lined up, though. There are some languages where it won't even compile if you don't have all the things lined up. This one's okay. If we didn't have this lined up like that, and then that was like that, it would still compile. But then when you come and ask me for help, I'm not going to really be able to see it clearly. And so the first thing I will do is to highlight everything. I did that with Control-A. You don't need to do this because your code is lined up. Edit, Advanced, Format. And then it's going to arrange it, you know, all nicely in columns. So if I do that, that's just to make it, you know, easier to read. Okay, I'm going to run it. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is build it. You can run it without building it, but I'm going to choose Build from the Build menu, Build Solution. What that does is it runs a compiler that turns this CPP file, CPP stands for C++, and makes an executable out of it. And so down here under Output, which I couldn't see because I minimized the window too much by doing that, I should see some commands. It says build started, source.cpp, blah, 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 and it tells me where my executable is. You know what an executable is. It's an app, just like you download to your phone, except it ends in .exe because this is a Windows program. It gives you the path to that. You could go drill down using, Windows Explorer and find that. But you don't need to. Instead, you just click local Windows debugger, or you choose debug, start without debugging. At this point, it doesn't matter which of those you choose. So I'm just going to hit the green arrow right here. And it says, hello, Tony Stark. And I feel quite accomplished. I am now an expert programmer ready to make a fortune. Let's add something to it. Wouldn't it be cooler if it asked you your name and then said hello? I think it'd be cooler. So we're going to do that. I'm going to add the code to do this, and then I'm going to walk around and make sure that everybody else has got it working. And this will be the last thing that we do. So I wanted to print a message that says, what is your name? So up here at the top, or maybe underneath this line that says string name, I'm going to use that cout command to do this. Cout, arrow, arrow, what is your name? Question mark. And then I'm going to put a space here so that there's a space between that question mark and what they type. And put a semicolon. Now this line that says name is equal to Tony Stark, we don't need this anymore. Because we're going to let them type in the name. I'm going to comment that out. That means I'm kind of redlining it, meaning it's no longer part of the program, but it's going to still be there in the program. It just doesn't have any effect anymore. And you redline it, which actually makes it green, by putting 2 slashes in front of it. These are the forward slash under the question mark, not the backslash. After that line that we've commented out, we're going to use another keyword. Instead of cout, which displays to the console, we're going to use console input to let the user type in the name. So we use the words CIN, followed by the 2 arrows, greater than signs, followed by our variable name, followed by a semicolon. Then build it and run it again. It should ask for the person's name. What is your name? Joe. And it says, hello, Joe. All right. When you're at that point, you're done. I will create a Dropbox so that you can upload that CPP file. Finding the CPP file can be a bit of a challenge at first, depending upon what your project settings were. But let me go and make that Dropbox for you. You have saved it. By each time you hit build, it saves it. So I'm going to call this in class A. Our in class assignments will have letter names, A, B, C, D, and E. Our homework will have numbers. So this is in class A. I'm not going to even put an explanation of what it is. Just go to the Dropbox. You see in class A. This is if you've got it working, but even if you don't, you're going to want to watch what I'm doing, and then I'll help you. Click on, whoops, I need to go into student mode so you see exactly what I see exactly what you're seeing. Go to the Dropbox under Course Tools. Find where it says in class A. Click on that. We need to add that file. And here comes kind of the little interesting challenge. Add file, then you click the upload button. We have to go find it. I didn't change its directory, I don't think. I started to, but then I'm not sure I did. So it's probably under Documents, Visual Studio 2013, Projects, and no, it's not there. So I must have left it in my C++ directory instead. That's probably where yours is. Under Documents, Visual Studio 2013, Projects, there should be a hello folder of some kind. Instead, I was dumb and I put it in a different folder. It's not there either. Where did I put it? Okay. I'm not finding it. Okay, that's where I put it, in a folder called C++ Projects. Why didn't I just leave the default? What do you know? It's not there either. If you get totally frustrated looking for it, a couple of things you could do. The easiest probably is just to go back to Visual Studio, go back to that Solution Explorer, right-click on the top line, and do Open in File Explorer, and we can get the path to it right there. It's in Visual Studio. Well, I thought I looked there. Oh, excuse me, it's under Users, Admin, Local Admin. All right, I'm definitely going to want to change that. I hope it's not there for you. But once you do that, I'm going to show you again. Right-click on Solution, Hello World, Open File Explorer. The CPP file is actually in this subdirectory. So you're going to open that. You see your CPP file? Just make a copy of it and put it on your desktop, something like that, somewhere easy to find. So I'm going to right-click on it and choose Copy. I'm going to go to my desktop, put Paste. And then I have a CPP file in a very easy to find location. So I'm going to go back to Chrome. I'm going to go to my desktop. Now that I've copied that file there, it's sitting there waiting for me. Source.cpp. I double click that. That's like adding an email attachment. It doesn't actually send it until you click Add, Submit. Once you get this screen that says File Upload Results, File Submission Successful, great. It needs to have the extension .cpp though. If you give me another file, it's not going to have the source code in it, and I won't know that you did the program. And you notice that while we were in that directory, it creates all sorts of files. It creates a VCX project file and a filters file, and then over here in debug, there's all sorts of things. You're looking for the CPP file. That's the one that you got to give me. In previous semesters, I've asked people to zip up the entire folder and give it to me. Just give me the CPP file. That's good enough for now. All right, I'm going to bring up the editor again. Once you get that file uploaded, then that's the end of the class. You can bail.